Have you ever noticed how your entire day can feel ruined just because your morning started wrong? You wake up late, you're rushing, you're stressed, and you're already behind before you've even begun. Let me ask you something. How many of you have promised yourself that tomorrow you'll wake up early, you'll finally get control of your mornings, and yet, when the alarm goes off, that snooze button feels like the most irresistible thing in the world? I want you to really think about this. What if the real secret to waking up early has nothing to do with the alarm clock and everything to do with what you do the night before? That's where it all begins. Most people think waking up early is about discipline in the morning. They imagine themselves dragging their body out of bed and somehow forcing their eyes open through sheer willpower. That's why they fail. Because your morning doesn't start when the sun rises. It starts the night before. The truth is, your brain and your body are machines of rhythm. You can't just tell them to snap into high performance mode without preparing them. Imagine an athlete showing up to a championship game without rest, without preparation, without fueling their body. That's what most people do with their mornings. They want greatness without preparation. If you want to wake up early and actually feel energized, you've got to take control of your night. Let me paint the picture. Think of those nights when you stayed up scrolling endlessly. Maybe telling yourself just one more video, one more scroll, one more message. Suddenly it's 100 or 200 in the morning. And then you expect yourself to bounce out of bed at 500 or 600. Your body isn't fighting laziness, it's fighting biology. You're not tired because you lack willpower. You're tired because you disrespected your rhythm. So how do you shift this? You start creating a night ritual that primes you for morning victory. Instead of treating nighttime like throwaway hours, treat them like the foundation of your next day's success. What you do in that last hour before sleep matters more than most people realize. For example, if you go to bed with your mind racing, your phone blasting blue light into your brain, and your body overloaded with heavy food or caffeine, you're basically programming yourself for failure. But if you decide to wind down, dim the lights, read something nourishing, maybe write down your top 3 priorities for the next day, you send a signal to your brain that it's safe to rest. You're not just falling asleep, you're recharging strategically. Think about how much power is hidden in preparation. When you prepare your clothes, your workout gear, your journal, maybe even your water bottle for the next morning, you're sending a message to yourself. Tomorrow matters. You're training your mind to see the morning as a launch pad instead of a burden. People who wake up with fire don't rely on willpower in the morning. They rely on systems they set in place the night of before. Now let's talk about energy. How many of you go to bed and wake up feeling like you've barely rested? That's not just about hours. It's about the quality of your sleep. The quality of your sleep is often determined by the environment you create. Your room should be a temple for recovery. Cool temperature, darkness, quietness, even the ritual of shutting down technology. It matters. Every little decision you make before bed is either an investment or a withdrawal from your morning. Here's the mistake most people make. They underestimate the compound effect of their nighttime habits. One late night here, one endless scroll there, and suddenly the body is in chaos. But here's the good news. You don't need perfection, you need consistency. Go to bed at a similar time. Keep your nighttime routine simple, but intentional. And your body begins to trust you. And when your body trusts you, waking up early becomes natural. I'll give you an example. Imagine two versions of yourself. One of you goes to bed at 12:30 with your phone in your hand. No plan for the next morning. The other version goes to bed at 10:30. Writes down 3 things you're excited about tomorrow. And sets your alarm across the room. Which version of you do you think jumps out of bed with energy and purpose? The difference isn't luck. It's design. You're designing your future self every night when you choose how you end the day. There's another layer to this, and it's identity. If you see yourself as someone who just isn't a morning person, you're going to make choices that prove that story right. But if you begin to see yourself as someone who values preparation, someone who respects their body and their mind, you'll start aligning your nighttime choices with that new identity. It's not about forcing yourself into some rigid schedule. It's about becoming the type of person who knows that what you do the night before is a promise to yourself about the day you're about to live. So the next time you think about waking up early, stop obsessing over the morning alarm. Start asking, what am I doing the night before to make that morning effortless? Am I fueling myself with the right foods? Am I giving my brain time to slow down? Am I setting up my environment to serve me? If you answer those questions honestly, you'll realize that waking up early isn't about punishment. It's about preparation. The people who thrive in the mornings, the ones who seem unstoppable, don't have superhuman willpower. They've just mastered the art of winning the night, so the morning takes care of itself. And if you're willing to respect your evening, if you're willing to prepare with intention, then waking up early won't be a struggle. It'll become who you are. Because remember this, your morning victory is built in the silence of the night before. How many of you have ever set the alarm with the best of intentions, telling yourself that tomorrow is the day you're going to wake up early, only to slam that snooze button like it owes you money? You know that moment. The alarm goes off, and instead of jumping out of bed, you bargain with yourself. Just 5 more minutes. Then those 5 minutes turn into 20, and suddenly the day is already slipping away. Let me tell you something powerful. Your mornings are not lost because of laziness. What you practice in private for lost because you don't have the right triggers in place. Think about it. If you rely only on willpower when that alarm rings, you're already setting yourself up for a fight. You will probably lose. Willpower is like a muscle. It gets tired. But systems don't get tired. Triggers don't get tired. They work whether you feel like it or not. And the people who wake up early every single day don't have magical levels of discipline. They've built systems that pull them out of bed before their brain can talk them out of it. One of the simplest but most effective triggers you can use is placing your alarm across the room. I know it sounds small, but that one little shift forces you to physically get out of bed. And once you're standing, the hardest part is already done. See, your brain is sneaky. It wants comfort. It wants warmth. It wants to keep you in bed. But when you make it physically impossible to satisfy that craving without moving, you take the power away from your brain and hand it to your body. Now, imagine pairing that with light. Your brain is hardwired to respond to light. It's nature's trigger. When you wake up in darkness, your body thinks it's still nighttime. But the moment light hits your eyes, your brain releases signals that it's time to be alert. So why not use that to your advantage? Whether it's opening your curtains, using a sunrise alarm, or simply turning on the brightest light in the room, you create an environment that tells your brain it's morning, wake up. Here's another trigger: cold water. You don't even have to jump in a cold shower. If that feels extreme, just splash cold water on your face the moment you get up. It shocks your nervous system, and suddenly your body is awake, whether your mind wants to be or not. You've moved from negotiation into momentum. What most people fail to realize is that you don't need one giant push in the morning. You just need a chain of small triggers that keep you moving forward before your excuses catch up. Think of it like dominoes. The first domino might be your alarm across the room. The next is flipping on the light, then splashing cold water on your face. Then maybe drinking a glass of water you left ready the night before. Before you know it, you're moving, you're breathing, you're alive. You've stacked the deck in your favor with triggers that make success automatic. And let's not forget the power of sound. Music has an incredible ability to shift your state. Play something energizing, something that makes you want to move. Don't underestimate what happens when you connect a song with your morning ritual. Over time, your brain begins to associate that sound with energy, action, and movement. It becomes a Pavlovian response. You hear the music, and your body knows it's time to wake up and go. Now, some of you might be thinking, that sounds great, but what about those mornings when I just don't feel like it? Let me tell you something. Feelings are liars. If you wait to feel like waking up early, you'll never do it. That's why triggers are so powerful. They bypass the debate. They don't ask how you feel. They just move you into action. And action creates energy. You don't wait for energy to show up. You create it through movement and momentum. Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow and your alarm is across the room. You stumble out of bed, turn it off, and immediately turn on a bright light. You splash cold water on your face, drink a glass of water waiting for you, and press play on a song that fires you up. Before you've even had time to think about going back to bed, you're already in motion. That's the difference between struggling and succeeding. It's not about being stronger. It's about being smarter with your environment. This is the secret most people miss. Success is engineered. You don't rise early by accident. You don't build powerful mornings by luck. You design them. You build in triggers so reliable that they carry you through the moments when your mind wants to quit. Let me ask you, what triggers are you going to put in place? Because if you're serious about waking up early every day, you can't rely on the same system that's been failing you. You need alarms across the room, light flooding the space, water shocking your senses, music charging your energy, and simple rituals waiting to keep you moving. Each one by itself is small, but together they're unstoppable. The beautiful thing about triggers is that once you repeat them enough, they stop being tricks and start being habits. Eventually, your body wakes up before the alarm even rings, because it knows what comes next. That's when you stop fighting yourself and start flowing with a rhythm you've designed. So tomorrow morning, when the alarm rings, don't give yourself the chance to argue. Build the triggers. Trust the system. Let those first actions carry you into a day of power, momentum, and success. Because the truth is, you don't need more motivation in the morning. You need better triggers. How many of you have ever said to yourself, "Tomorrow I'm going to wake up early"? And then when the alarm rings, you ask, "But why?" Think about that. It's not that you can't wake up early. It's that you don't have a compelling reason to. You see, the human brain doesn't get excited about discipline for discipline's sake. It gets excited about meaning, about reward, about something that feels worth waking up for. And that's why most people fail to stay consistent with waking up early. They treat it like punishment instead of turning it into something they actually crave. What if you built a morning ritual that you couldn't wait to step into? A sequence of actions that filled your body with energy, your mind with clarity, and your spirit with purpose. That's when mornings stop feeling like a chore and start becoming the best part of your day. Because if your mornings are empty, you will always be tempted to stay in bed. But if your mornings are irresistible, you won't want to miss them. Let me give you an image. Imagine going to bed at night, not dreading the alarm, but actually looking forward to it. Because you know the moment you get up, you're stepping into something that lights you up. Maybe it's 10 minutes of stretching that makes your body feel alive. Maybe it's journaling where you unload your thoughts and design your day. Maybe it's reading something powerful that feeds your mind. Or it could be meditation, breathing, or prayer that grounds you before the world starts shouting at you. These aren't random activities, they are rituals. And rituals give you energy, certainty, and focus. Here's the difference between people who wake up early with energy and those who struggle. The first group has rituals that excite them. The second group just has an alarm clock. And you know which one wins every single time. If you only rely on discipline, you'll lose the battle sooner or later. But if you create a ritual that pulls you out of bed because you don't want to miss it, you'll win every day. So ask yourself, what would make your morning irresistible? For some of you, it might be exercise. You know that feeling after a workout where your blood is pumping. Your mind is sharper and you feel unstoppable. Imagine starting your day with that instead of sluggishness. For others, it might be creativity, writing, sketching, planning, whatever ignites your passion. Some of you might feel alive when you listen to something inspiring that fuels your mind before the noise of the world distracts you. There's no single formula. The key is that it must feel meaningful to you. The problem is most people never design their mornings. They roll out of bed, grab their phone, and immediately get hijacked by emails, messages, or social media. And then they wonder why they feel drained before the day has even begun. That's because they let the world invade their mind before they even claimed it for themselves. Your morning ritual has to be about ownership. It's about saying, before the world gets a piece of me, I give something powerful to myself. Let me challenge you with this. What if you treated your morning like the most sacred part of your day? What if those first 30 minutes or even 10 minutes were non-negotiable? Think about how different your life would look if every morning started with energy, focus, and purpose. You wouldn't just wake up, you'd rise. You wouldn't just get through the day, you'd own it. Now, building a morning ritual doesn't mean it has to be complicated. In fact, simplicity is what makes it sustainable. Don't try to cram 10 different habits in at once. Start with 1 or 2 practices that give you energy. Maybe it's drinking a big glass of water. Maybe it's stepping outside for a few breaths of fresh air. Maybe it's writing down 3 things you're grateful for. When you start simple and stay consistent, it becomes automatic. And once it's automatic, you can expand it. Consistency is the secret. A ritual is powerful not because it's grand, but because it's repeated. Do it enough, and your brain starts to anchor joy, energy, and identity to that ritual. Before long, your mornings stop being something you have to fight through and become something you flow into. Let me share something else. Your ritual should also connect to your bigger vision. It's not just about doing push-ups or journaling. It's about reminding yourself of who you are and where you're going. When you take time in the morning to review your goals, visualize your future, or speak affirmations that reinforce your identity, you're programming your brain to live intentionally. You're saying, I'm not just reacting to life today, I'm creating it. That's the power of a ritual. It connects your daily actions to your ultimate destiny. So many people wonder why their days feel scattered, why they feel unmotivated, why they keep procrastinating. And I always tell them, look at your mornings. If your mornings are weak, your day will be weak. If your mornings are strong, your day will follow. Because how you start is often how you finish. You can't expect to rise powerfully in life. In life, if you keep starting your days like a victim of the snooze button. And let me tell you this. You don't have to spend 2 hours on your morning routine. Even 10 minutes can transform you, if those 10 minutes are intentional. 10 minutes of breathing gratitude and planning is better than an hour of scrolling through nonsense. The quality matters more than the quantity. What if you woke up tomorrow and gave yourself that gift? What if instead of letting your phone be the first voice you hear, You let your own voice guide your day. What if instead of grabbing chaos, you grabbed clarity? What if instead of rushing, you slowed down just enough to step into power? That's how you build momentum. And momentum, once it starts, carries you throughout the day. So here's my challenge to you tonight. Before you go to bed, decide what your morning ritual will be. Tomorrow. Keep it simple. Maybe it's 3 minutes of movement, 3 minutes of gratitude, and 3 minutes of planning. That's 9 minutes that could change everything, because once you prove to yourself that you can own your morning, you'll realize you can own your life. Your morning isn't just the start of the day, it's the foundation of your identity. When you create a ritual that excites you, that anchors you, that makes you feel alive, you stop fighting the alarm clock and start chasing your future. Because the truth is, for what you practice in private, you don't need to force yourself out of bed. When you've built a morning worth waking up for. How many of you have ever caught yourself saying, "I'm just not a morning person"? Be honest. You've probably said it, or at least thought it. And here's the truth. Every time you repeat that phrase, every time you buy into that identity, you're programming your mind and your body to believe it. You're not fighting your alarm clock in the morning. In the morning, you're fighting the story you've been telling yourself for years. Identity is the most powerful force in human behavior. We will always act in alignment with the story we believe about who we are. If you believe you're the kind of person who struggles with mornings, then you'll hit snooze. If you believe you're the kind of person who thrives in the morning, then you'll rise. It's not just about habits. It's about identity. And the good news is, identity is not fixed. You can reprogram it. I want you to think about this for a moment. Every habit you have right now is just evidence of the identity you've been carrying. You brush your teeth because you identify as someone who values cleanliness. You lock your door because you identify as someone who values safety. Those habits are automatic because they're tied to who you believe you are. So if you want to wake up early every day, it's not about fighting harder. It's about shifting your identity to someone who simply does it, because that's who they are. How do you start reprogramming that? By changing your language. Words create worlds. Stop saying, "I'm not a morning person." Stop saying, "I can't wake up early." Instead, start affirming, "I am someone who owns my mornings. I am someone who rises with energy. I am someone who makes my day, not someone who lets the day make me." When you change your words, you begin to change your beliefs. And when your beliefs shift, your actions follow. Now, let's be real. You can't just say affirmations and expect magic to happen. You've got to back it up with action. Identity shifts when belief and behavior align. That means every time you wake up early, even if it's just 5 minutes earlier than yesterday, you're casting a vote for your new identity. Every single early morning is evidence that you're becoming the kind of person you've decided to be. And the more evidence you gather, the stronger that identity becomes. Think about someone who goes to the gym. At first, it's hard. They don't see themselves as a gym person yet. But after weeks and months of showing up, they no longer say, "I'm trying to work out." They say, "I am fit. I am an athlete. I am healthy." The behavior reshapes the identity, and the identity locks in the behavior. It works the same way with mornings. At first, you might feel resistance. But each time you rise, each time you refuse the snooze, you're rewriting the script. Eventually, you don't have to try to wake up early. It just becomes who you are. Let's talk about visualization. One of the fastest ways to reprogram your identity is to imagine the future version of yourself who has already mastered mornings. See them clearly. How do they wake up? What do they do? How do they feel? What kind of life are they living? Because they own their mornings, the brain doesn't fully distinguish between vivid imagination and lived reality. When you repeatedly visualize yourself as that person, you train your mind to accept it as truth. And once your mind accepts it, your actions follow naturally. But here's the trap. Most people focus on the pain of waking up early instead of the identity they're moving toward. They picture the struggle, the tiredness, the discomfort. And what happens? Their brain says, "This is not who I am." If you want to win this game, you've got to stop focusing on the struggle and start focusing on the identity. Stop asking, "How do I force myself out of bed?" And start asking, "What does the person I want to become do when the alarm rings?" That one shift changes everything. Let me give you an example. If you see yourself as a leader, do you hit snooze? No, because leaders take control of their time. If you see yourself as someone who values growth, do you waste your most powerful hours? No, because growth means seizing opportunity. If you see yourself as someone who is disciplined, do you let comfort dictate your mornings? No, because discipline beats comfort. When the identity is strong enough, the action becomes automatic. And here's something else. You need to surround yourself with proof. Identity isn't just shaped by what you say to yourself, but also by the environment and people around you. If everyone in your circle treats mornings like a burden, you'll feel validated in hitting snooze. But if you immerse yourself in a community, in content, in an environment that celebrates morning victories, you'll feel pulled toward that identity. Humans are tribal. We want to belong. So belong to a tribe that wakes up with purpose. Now, don't confuse perfection with identity. There will be days you slip. That doesn't mean you've failed. It means you're human. The key is not to let one bad morning destroy the identity you're building. If you miss one day, get back up the next. Identity is built over time, not in a single decision. You don't have to be flawless to reprogram yourself. You just have to be consistent enough that the evidence stacks up in your favor. Here's the truth: the battle for your mornings is not about alarms, not about snooze buttons, not about tricks. It's about deciding who you are. Once you decide and truly believe you are someone who owns the morning, you won't need tricks. You'll simply live it. Because you will always act in alignment with who you believe you are. So the next time that alarm rings, don't ask yourself if you feel like getting up. Don't ask yourself if you're motivated. Ask yourself, who am I? And if the answer is, I am someone who rises early, I am someone who owns my mornings, I am someone who creates my day instead of waiting for it to create me, then you already know what to do. Because in the end, the secret isn't to force yourself to wake up early. It's to become the kind of person who just does.